There's nothing wrong with having two competitive players go out there and compete against each other. And both guys, they do it the right way for the most part. So if they get lined up across from each other, they'll go at it, which they should.
Let's get started with Joe Whitt Jr. and same place we started with Cliff. How have things changed for your defense since week one until now? There's personnel changes, there's schematic changes, whole lot of change since week one for Joe Whitt's side.
Well, if you look at the first three games, all right, we were 31st in pass defense. All right, we finished third. Okay, we were probably 31st in percentage. We finished third. Third down, we've been up and down. Right before this last game, we were teetering in the top 10. We were horrible then, so the defense has really trended in the right direction. So the points have been down. So the defense is just different.
He doesn't want to give a lot of detail. And he probably also doesn't want to say bad things about some of the guys that were playing, but you could say it's different. So what's the defense at least doing well at this point of the season?
Well, the times that we've gone out there, so we dropped the punt in the last game. We went out there and held them to a field goal. The way we played in the red zone this last game, the sudden change situational football, we're playing much better. Okay, the thing that we have to do is get the ball. We have to do that. That's what. And I know everybody wants to talk about the run game, but if we can get the ball and get some of those turnovers, that controls a lot of the game as well. But the way we run and hit and the balance and the connection that we play with, really pleased with that.
So much better than week one, where they were still having all kinds of issues. And oh my God, it's a bunch. Let's all run into each other and not cover anybody. No, they're not doing that stuff anymore. It's much better. They've got better communicators out there. And obviously, as we'll talk about in just a second, they could have a much, much better one this weekend with Marshon Lattimore making his return to the lineup. But the passing game is just part of what you have to deal with when it comes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Number 5.
The running game, not only is Bucky Irving a 1,000-yard rusher, again, more on him in a moment, but this has been the best rushing season of Baker Mayfield's career. He's actually the 7th leading rusher amongst quarterbacks in the NFL on scrambles this season. What's that all about, Joe Whitt?
I think he is just doing a good job of making people miss. I mean, he's been hard to tackle in the pocket across every team that goes in there. So you have to hit him as if you're going to hit a running back. If you go in there like you're going to hit a quarterback, normal quarterbacks, you're going to probably come off. So
simple as that. You can't give that dude space. He's slippery. And the thing is about him, he's slippery not only in space, he's slippery in the pocket as well, which is why he's hard to sack, and they really struggle with that in week one. Now, of course, the most dangerous running threat is Bucky Irving, the rookie running back who went over 1,000 yards for Tampa this season. What's the key to stopping him?
Well, the key is to handling the screen game, because that's how they like to use them a lot. And then in the run game, making sure that we take care of the C gap in the run game.
So the C gap is more outside, and there are plays, he had an 18-yarder against the Chargers where it's a trap. So on trap, you basically let one of the defensive tackles come up the field, and then you have, or actually I think technically it was a wham because it was a tight end who did this, not an offensive lineman, but you then have a tight end, or if it's wham, a trap, it's an offensive lineman, come in and smash that guy in the face, and you trap him. It's ha, you think you won, but you didn't. We just pushed you a different direction. And then typically that creates an inside crease that a running back can go off of. Well, against LA, Derwin James sees that coming, and he attacks where the play is going to go. And Bucky Irving sees that and is like, well, we have the edge sealed too. And he gets outside and he's gone for 18 yards. So you have to be really, really disciplined. Play your gap. Make sure that the cutbacks, the backside C gap on some of these outside stretch plays are covered. So Bucky Irving is he's not Saquon Barkley, but is a Saquon-style runner. He's not a good dirty runner where he's going to pick up 5-6 yards, much like Rico Dowdle did last week for Dallas. Where he's just going to plow it up in there and get what's blocked and maybe fall forward 2 extra yards. He is a boom or bust, big-time hitter. And you have to be scared of that if you're Joe Whitt, not to mention the screen game like you mentioned. The screen game for Tampa has been the best in the NFL all year, something that Joe Whitt is well aware of.
Well, they have a really good offensive line that gets out right now. So when they get out, they get their bigs on people's littles, and they create voids for people to go. They have a number of different type of screens. You have the play action screen, the slip screen, the cross screen, all those to the backs, and then you have the ones that the tunnel screen, tear screen from the outside. So they have just a variety of different screens and different ways to get into it, and then they get in and they go with it, and so.
They get in, they go, and they seem to go a long, long way. Again, Mayfield, the leading passer in the NFL on passes behind the line of scrimmage, and the structure of this screen game is one of the reasons why Liam Cohen is going to be a hot topic or a hot commodity on the head coach market, likely as things heat up after the Bucs ultimately lose, which we hope happens on Sunday.
Number 6.
All due respect. Speaking of respect, I don't know if Mike Evans and Marshon Lattimore respect each other. I do know that they have had some wars over the years. And Marshon Lattimore has won a lot of those wars. Lattimore has held Evans catchless in 5 of their 13 career matchups. And they actually did play earlier this year when Lattimore was in New Orleans and healthy. And it was the first time in Lattimore's career against Evans that he didn't actually wind up shadowing him basically the entire game. It's the first time that he hasn't covered him on, I believe it's over 50% of snaps in their 13 career matchups. Evans has been below all of his career averages in the games against Lattimore, and I think a huge reason why is Lattimore is a big, strong dude who has tremendous play strength. And so where Evans can bully a lot of corners in the NFL, Lattimore is just not one of those guys. So knowing that, knowing the history, knowing what he's got out there in Marshon Lattimore, assuming that he plays, how do you handle the matchup between those two if you're the guy coaching Lattimore, Joe Whitt Jr.?
Well, we're just focused about winning the game. Hopefully Marshon will be available, and once we get that word, we'll handle that from that standpoint. But there's nothing wrong with having 2 competitive players go out there and compete against each other. And both guys, they do it the right way for the most part. So if they get lined up across from each other, they'll go at it, and which they should.
They sure will. The question is, what does go at it mean? And when he talks about, they do the right things for the most part. The not most parts have often been against each other, but it's a playoff game. And I think the one thing that if it starts to get chippy, if I'm Dan Quinn, I pull Lattimore aside and I go, hey, man, you're amazing. I love how much you fight, but I need you to make sure that if anything goes down, you don't get ejected. Just don't get thrown out of this game. Be physical, be chippy. If he punches you, we'll deal with it with the refs. The refs do not get thrown out of this game. He is too important to this team. But Evans is super important to what they do for Tampa. Jalen McMillan has really come on, but without Chris Godwin, that passing game takes a huge hit, and they take a huge hit in the red zone and on third down without Evans. That is really where he shines these days. It's not down in, down out like the peak of Mike Evans' career. But in those biggest of moments, they find ways to get him where they want. And it's going to be on Lattimore, Whitt, and the Commanders to make sure that doesn't happen at the success that happened in the first game where Tampa was like 85% or something ridiculous on third downs.